a patient advocate for fertility rights, and she's joining me today. Thank you for taking the time to be here. So let's start with the State of the Union. You were a guest of Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, and I saw in the release that he put out announcing you as his guest that he cited a comment you made in the wake of that ruling out of Alabama that you felt like an endangered species. What did you mean by that?
Exactly what I wrote. For the first time in my life, I've been on this planet 42 years, and we have never quite seen an attack on fertility treatments like IVF to the degree that we saw them from Alabama. So it's really the first time I've felt like, wow, the method that got me here is truly in danger in a way I've never felt before.
If Alabama's law or how the Supreme Court ruled, if that was in effect back in the 1980s when your parents were trying to have you, what would that mean for you today?
Well, quite simply, I wouldn't be here today, nor would 12 million other babies that are on the planet thanks to this technology. And, back 42 years ago, it was highly controversial and not yet tried here in the United States. There was only one program in Virginia doing this experimental program. And, the fact that it was successful is just a testament to, the fact that we in this country keep driving and try to find solutions to problems such as infertility. So, if this had happened 42 years ago, absolutely, I simply would not exist.
And Alabama has passed a new law that provides civil and criminal immunity to providers and patients. This was put in place pretty quickly after the Supreme Court made its decision. I've seen you said that this doesn't go far enough. Why?
That's right. So what's interesting about what Alabama did to protect IVF is it does get people back indoors of clinics so that they could get treatment, and does provide providers with immunity. But it doesn't deal with the fundamental question that raised the Alabama issue in the first place, which is around embryos and what to do with them, and at what point do you consider life begins. That is really at the crux of the issue here. And the other thing to note is that, the bill doesn't say anything about whether you could still lose your license in Alabama if you're a doctor providing these services. So I think there's still much more work to do there, but it's at least a step in the right direction.
And I want to go back to when your parents were pursuing IVF. How was their path to this procedure different from how parents today have access to IVF?
So back in 1981, as I said, only program in the country. My parents were living at the time in Massachusetts. And so they were flying down and back to have these procedures done. And it wasn't outpatient at all. So for every blood draw, every hormone injection, all of the monitoring, they were spending thousands and thousands of dollars just on travel alone. To top it off, there was absolutely no insurance coverage back then. So everything was completely out of pocket. It was a big undertaking, not just financially, but also emotionally. So really, that part of the process and journey has not really changed in 42 years.
And I know we have the cover of Life magazine from when you were a baby, and the cover says, here it is, you're called the test tube. It's a test tube baby boom is what it says. Just at what point in your life did you realize that your birth was so historic?
Well, I joke and say that I feel like I've always known how I got here was not like everybody else, because my first press conference was at 3 days old. And at age 6, I was explained the process of IVF in great detail by my doctors through a Nova documentary screening of how I got here. So I kind of feel like I've always known how I got here, but really, it's always been a goal of mine to just let people know that I'm just like everybody else.
And as soon as, just turning back to Alabama, the Supreme Court in the state makes that decision, and pretty quickly, within a matter of days, you had many conservatives saying that something needed to be done to protect IVF, and then this law is put in place, Governor Kay Ivey signing it in Alabama. What did that tell you?
So, it's interesting because while a lot of folks have said they are for IVF, they really have not yet fully backed that up. An example of that, part of my journey down to the State of the Union was also to raise awareness for the Access to Family Building Act that Senator Tammy Duckworth and Senator Kaine have co-sponsored. And they did try to get that passed on the floor by unanimous consent, citing, well, if you all say you're for IVF, then let's pass a national bill to protect it. Of course, that failed upon the dissent of one Republican senator. And so, I think we can say that we're for IVF, but I think our actions need to prove it.
Elizabeth Carr, keynote speaker and America's first IVF baby. Thank you for sharing your story with us.